Without an implant, she can't get any more upper pole fullness. On a consistent basis, I have not seen any particular method that can actually provide long-term increased upper pole fullness beyond what she has to start with. So I usually tell patients, this is what you get with a mastopexy, this is what you get with a mastopexy augmentation, and if you want that real push-up look, you still need the double push-up bra. So the best marking, when I look at her, stand back and look at her breast and see where her footprint is. Top of her footprint is right here. Bottom of her footprint, inframammary fold, is here. I don't really care where the inframammary fold is, in the sense that I know it's the upper breast border that's the key to making decisions. If that's the upper breast border and you look at where the breast is, I know that an implant will raise the upper breast border 2 centimeters. Doesn't matter what size implant you're using. Even the large ones, you only get, on average, 2 centimeters up. So if I know that, then I can visualize where the breast needs to be. So let's say we don't use an implant. Upper breast border, which is right here where the breast creases, right here at the indentation here. A mastopexy, upper breast border doesn't change, so it's really relatively irrelevant where the inframammary fold is. Upper breast border is the best landmark. Now, if I know then that I can add an implant and raise the upper breast border 2 centimeters, then again, I can visualize the final result. So when I'm looking at a breast like this, I'm looking at where's the upper breast border, so where's the footprint, how much chest is there, is she low-breasted or high-breasted, and she's medium-breasted, so good breast footprint. Then I look at the breast. Ptosis to me is not where the nipple is in relation to the inframammary fold on a routine basis. It's how much glandular ptosis does she have, and then finally how much nipple ptosis. So even if she did not have nipple ptosis, she's got glandular ptosis. I need to deal with that whether I'm doing a mastopexy reduction or a mastopexy augmentation. So initially look at glandular ptosis. The best way of dealing with this is in a mastopexy, move the glandular ptosis up to the mid portion of the breast, because I've not seen anybody be able to figure out how to move that glandular ptosis into the upper half of the breast on a consistent basis. So mastopexy, take the glandular inferior wedge, move it up. Rearrange the breast tissue. Problem with the mastopexy augmentation is that inferior flap, the blood supply to it is damaged by the insertion of the implant, whether it's subglandular or subpectoral. So with the mastopexy augmentation, I believe in Paul-Renault's plus minus. Plus, add to the top half. Divide the breast into 2. Top half, you need to fill it. If that's the desire, is to have more upper pole fullness, you need to fill it either with an implant or with fat. Today we're talking about using an implant. Lower half of the breast, you have to deal with the glandular ptosis, which in a mastopexy is move it. Breast reduction, it's remove it. And in a mastopexy augmentation, it's remove it because of blood supply issues. So you can look at that and say that probably about 30 to 50 grams of breast tissue needs to be removed in order to correct the glandular ptosis. So when I'm marking her for a mastopexy augmentation, we've decided to use about a 300 cc implant to fill the upper pole and remove just over probably 30 grams inferiorly. So how do I tell where the upper breast border is? And everybody loves the inframammary fold, and I used to think it was the best place as well. But upper breast border is a little less well visualized. But if you mark where that indentation always is in the breast, that's the level of your upper breast border. So I can mark that across like this. And the upper breast border is not as exact, but one way to test it is to push up like that. And as I push up like that, you can see where that crease is. That's the upper breast border. So again, where the indentation is, and across here. And is it across here? It really doesn't matter whether it's there or there, but an implant is going to raise that upper breast border 2 centimeters. Now, if we just did an implant, it would raise the upper breast border 2 centimeters. I'd probably have to use a larger than a 300 cc implant. She could get an okay result with an implant, but it'd be pretty tonic. And you need a large enough implant to fill the breast envelope. To give her a nicer result, she needs a mastopexy with or without an augmentation. So next marking, we'll mark chest midline. And notice I'm not marking her inframammary fold. There's the bottom of her clavicles. So now I want to draw her breast meridian, not where it is, but where it should be. So breast meridian should divide that side of the chest wall, and in fact, in her case, breast meridian does fall where the existing nipple position is. I don't care where the nipple is, I care where it ends up. And it should end up, this should be about 10 centimeters from the midline to the new nipple position. Ideally, a new nipple position in an average C-cup breast is about 10 centimeters down from the upper breast border. So I know the upper breast border is going to go up about 2 centimeters. I know that the weight of the implant drags down my position about 2 centimeters. So if I put a new nipple position here, which when you visualize the breast would be a good position, unfortunately, if you don't realize that it'll actually, if I mark it, for example, at 22 centimeters, doesn't matter, we'll mark it in a minute, but if I mark it at 22 centimeters, post-operatively next week, it'll be 24. So if I know that ahead of time, then I know what's going to happen with the breast. So breast meridian, and if I'm doing that measurement here, now it's going to be a bit smaller on her because she's smaller chest, but this is probably about 9, yeah, just about 9 centimeters to the, from the breast meridian to the midline of the chest. So probably 9 and 9 are going to be good numbers. Now I'm not talking about 9 around the breast, I'm talking about it straight. So 9 down from the upper breast border to the nipple, which would be here, which is not correct because I know that the breast is, the nipple will drop with the weight of the implant. So at 7 there would be about my new nipple position, which might look high to some people unless you realize that the weight of the implant drags it down. So if I were doing just a mastopexy, that would probably be too high because the nipple is going to point up at the ceiling. But if we're able to fill the upper pole of the breast, then that new nipple position would be correct, knowing again that it's going to drop from what we have right now. So to make that symmetrical, that would be where we talked about before if we're just doing a mastopexy. So that only puts her at 19 centimeters and 19 centimeters. So new nipple position at 19 would seem almost a bit too high, knowing though that it's going to be 21 in her afterwards, which is a good position for her. Depends on whether they're high-breasted or low-breasted. If she were low-breasted, it might be 24 centimeters. So this distance doesn't matter except in relation to where everything else is. So 19 centimeters, remeasure here, remeasure here. So now that's a new nipple position. So I'm going to go up 2 centimeters for my top of my areola, which again would be way too high if I'm just doing a mastopexy. So I'm looking at that and I could draw my areola here. When I look at her, and after talking to you about the numbers, I'm thinking 10 is going to be better than 9. So I'm actually going to drop this down. And this is unfortunately where the experience comes in, which is hard to teach with numbers. Always put it lower. Always err on the side of going too low rather than too high, which is what I'm doing right now. I'm going lower.